Doodlebud. The last time I uncapped this pen, the full chamber here of ink, instant I popped off the cap, it all just evacuated from the pen and went all over the place. So I've been a little gun shy to do this review again. And if you don't believe me, this is the evidence. This pen is filled with Robert Oster Dutch Peach. It's a lovely color. I thought it looks beautiful in here, which it does. And I was just getting ready to do the review. I had it all filled, ready to go, opened it, and just splat all over my hand, all over the page, all over everything. So I'm hoping I can do this review again. I don't know what caused it. It just makes no sense. It was very fast and very rapid. The only thing I was potentially thinking, I was chatting with someone on this one. I know sometimes you can have the thing where you open the threads and it creates this little pull, a little vacuum, and some ink would come out. There's no way it does enough to pull the whole thing out. The only thing we could hypothesize was that there's something going on with the ink. It's off gassing. Maybe something's breaking down in it. Maybe the Dutch peach is turning into peach schnapps and it's outgassing, and that forced the ink out of here real rapidly. So let's try this one more time. So here's to hoping this pen doesn't explode everywhere. Let's just do this. Okay, thank goodness. I don't know what caused it. This was the aftermath last time. Very strange effect. I can do the review now, but I'll tell you, the other reason I haven't done it, the tines on this nib, this Bock nib, which is kind of cool that you can get the Asvine nib or a Bock nib. I got the Bock one. They are mega tight, so the flow is really, really poor. But yeah, the nib is smooth, but the tines are mega tight and it writes super dry. So I'll go over the pen. I'll take the nib out and adjust this nib. I've been having to do this with a lot of pens lately. We have acrylic body. We got titanium trim here. The clip looks titanium too. It's got more of a brush. This is a little bit of a better finish on there as well. So the end cap piece there too is titanium. We got some engraving going on, most likely done via laser. P36, as you can see. The cap comes off 1, 2 turns, so nothing wrong with that. We have a titanium section. We have some Acme style threads on here, but it's just a very kind of good angle on that shoulder. So, and the tops are a little bit pointy, so a little bit sharper than I would prefer. But that's okay. You can see the piston mechanism up here. Obviously piston knob, and it threads into the body there. So the piston, all that stuff is quite nice. It sucks up the ink. It works quite well. Nice volume. A little bit short. Of course, I'll give you dimensions for my hand size that I would prefer. So then if you want to post it, you thought, oh, let's make it a little bit longer. It does post, not very deep. And now let's just do that. If you turn the cap, you're turning the piston knob quite easily. And I'm not like really forcing it to do it. Actually, when it locks onto the piston knob. So that's one thing drives me a little nuts with some pens. If you post it now, you're asking for trouble. It does have a beefy clip. I thought it was going to be much firmer than it is, but it's reasonable. It's stiff, but it's right in there with other pens and not the stiffest clip I've used. And if you want to take the clip off for whatever reason, you just unscrew the body here. Here are your bits. I'm debating if I'll anodize this pen or not. It comes apart pretty easy. I don't think I can take the section off the pen. It seems like it's on there quite good. I might play around with that some more, but I could anodize those. I could anodize this too just by dipping it. Same thing here too. So there's a few different ways. I might play with this. Maybe just the end pieces I'll anodize. We'll see as time goes on. The acrylic is nice, very nice and clear. Pistons well made. You can see this is a cool little feature how you can go down into the feed and you got that little bore, so you can see it there too. Yeah, clearer pens or ones that are mixed like this one, not fully demonstrated, but you got the bits. It's just nice. You got, obviously you got your ink window, so you know if you got ink in the pen or not. I think it looks really, really sharp. It's just missing a couple little tiny details for me to really be excited about it. For some folks, when you cap a pen and you can see the nib, you really, really want the nib to be aligned with the clip. And that way the world is back in order. You can't do that with this one. That stuff doesn't bother me. It's sort of like, oh, that's nice when they do it. But I know for some folks, if you can't line that nib up with the clip and you can see it, oh, you can't sleep at night. The overall feel and balance is pretty good. You do have quite a taper down into the section here. So it's a little bit thin where it wants you to sort of grab because of the hourglass shape. If they didn't have as much of a concave on there, I would like it more. Keep in mind, I have a pretty large hand. So to compensate for that with pens where I find it's a little too thin where I might want to grip it, I'll just kind of stagger my grip. But then, yeah, these threads are a bit sharp. I wish they weren't as crispy on those edges. If they broke those edges a little bit better, it would be more comfortable for folks who aren't going to be down here. We're up here a bit more. And it could almost use... Yeah, it's a very smooth finish, so it's quite bright titanium, very, very nice. It could benefit though if the machine finish on here was more noticeable, just like they're micro grooves. You just let the machinery do it for you on the speed of the pass and all that stuff. And just, yeah, it doesn't have to be as polished. It looks good polished with all this stuff, but if they just had a little more machining marks on here, that would improve the grip a bit more. The fitment of the piston knob here on the back and onto the acrylic body is really good. Nothing's out of alignment or non-concentric. Everything's really good. So we're pretty good on all the details. There's just a couple little minor details I wish they tweaked a hair. The pen does have some beef to it. Let's call that around 32 grams with the full shot of ink in it. 11.3 there or so in the cap. And we're left with 20.3 in the body. Sizing up, we have the Faber-Castell Hexo, a Enso Puma in Ultim at the Asvine P36 Esterbrook Esty. Caps off, we can see we're very, very close in size. It's actually a touch longer than the Puma, and I think even a touch longer or very close to the Esty, which is strange because I find the Esty, and I think it's just where I grip it. I can grip it a little further down, is like just long enough unposted. The Hexo, same thing. I can grip a little bit lower so I get better length. Again with the Puma, it doesn't post, so you have to hold it this way. But I can get the fingers right down to the very, very front, and it's still comfortable. I think the reason with this one is the hourglass. It kind of forces you a little higher up the pen. So if I'm going to go here, instead of like right down there near the end, it's not good. But if I go into the hourglass shape, I'm here and it's just like on the cusp. I wish it was a little bit longer or the posting was done better so I can get a little extra length on it. But just that little detail is enough where I would prefer a little more length on this pen. Again, that is a detail that's unique to my particular hand and other folks who have a reasonably large hand. I could see for a lot of folks out there, using this pen unposted will be just absolutely fine for you. So sort of crude and dirty, I'm just putting my loop over the camera so you can see, but that tying gap right down there at the tip is pretty much non-existent. You can see the ink ready to go all the way on the slit going along, and then we're just too tight so it's right and dry. What size do we got on here? I can't remember if this is a medium or a fine. Doesn't matter, we'll get it writing though. In order to do that, we have to pull out the nib. So you can unscrew, let's see, does it unscrew or do you have to just pull? Yeah, this one you're just gonna pull out. And there we go. I don't feel like uninking the pen. Okay, and we're gonna dab this off so my fingers don't get totally destroyed. And then I'm going to go to the nib and just separate the tines a little bit, check things with my feeler gauge. I've shown this a bunch. I'll show it real quick. Let's actually see how long this takes. I'm going to start the clock here. So we got 12:37 in the AM. And about halfway through, we'll go to the bottom of 12:37, come back, see how long it took for me to be happy with this nib. So that actually took a lot longer than normal. It's 12:44 now. This nib was super hard to pull apart. I was really reefing on it and could barely make any progress whatsoever. Then I did the little press down thing on the hard desk and it really wasn't going, and I pushed a touch too much and it actually, I bent it, but I brought it back to shape there. So we're okay. Eventually I had to use my shims to wedge it. I had to go up to a 5 thou shim or a 0.127 millimeter shim. And then you just slide it up again. if I'm trying to do this fast to show how fast you can do a nib, this was very, very tricky to do. This one was very tough and hard to maneuver. But what you do is I put the shim up here to about there with a 5/1000 shim and just side pressure that side pressure that side. If you have two, you can loop them in and pull them apart that way. And then I got it to open just where I needed, fine-tuned the tines, and now we got just a nice little bit of a resistance in there. Feels just perfect, and the alignment is good. Let me show you under the loop. You can sort of see on the slit there, it's interesting. It's quite wide, then it tapers very narrow, very fast, and then goes along. So I don't know if something happened a little bit during the slitting process of this one. You can also see the tip of material on the right side is significantly smaller than the left side. So something could have been off a little bit, but we got just the gap I'm looking for and the alignment's there. So let's put this back in the pen. Now you're not quite done yet. It could have moved when you put it in. Good thing I checked really quick because it did move just a hair. Now that the nib is properly tuned and adjusted, we're getting the right ink flow so it's not skipping. Nibs need that sometimes, but it's a very rewarding pen to write with now. Everything's going great. Sad turn of events to the dog and the fox. I mean, my dog's the same way. She can't jump off anything at all right now. Happens to all of us. Thought I would give you the sad news on that one. Now this nib might need just a tiny little tune. So I'm going to show you what I do. I got a few pads here. That's a 12,000. This is the 8 and that's the 6. For most of the stuff, this is all I do. Now depending on what you need to do, you might change it a little bit. If you're going to need to just smooth it, a lot of folks will do figure 8s. You're putting a flat spot on the nib. You don't want to do that. You have a ball. So you want to keep the ball a ball. So what I do, again, someone might say this is not the way to do it, but this works for me, is I think about I need to keep this a ball. So I'll go at a low writing angle and just go back and forth and rotate as I go. Just a few strokes as I slowly increase the pen angle. So I'm just smoothing like this at all angles because it's round. I raise and I lower. And for a lot of the times, that's about all you need. Just we're hitting a different spot each time as I do this. And I'll go down, give it a feel. Yes, and that got rid of what I needed to get rid of. If you're doing a lot of those, you're doing too much. You can go on to the 12,000 to polish it more. I almost like kind of keeping it at the 8. This way you can kind of fine tune your feedback. Another way you can do it too is sometimes, let's say you just had an edge on there that you needed to get rid of a little bit. The focus is going to be tricky. It's such a fine spot. Oh, let's see if we can hold it there. Okay. So you can also take the pad. I'll use the inky side. And you can just do this a few times. Let's say it's just that shoulder or just that one edge. You can do this. So maybe you have to go 4 or 5 times to get rid of it. Just like so. I'm not pushing hard. Just we're doing tiny little details. And that can be enough that you need there. So you might find that method easier. And we feel on here. And yeah, really good. So just a little tune-up sometimes, like I showed you. That was even less. That was real time. So I don't know, wherever that was, 20 seconds is all you need. So I am much happier with the pen because I can use it. 1, because the nib is properly tuned. 2, because it didn't explode on me and just shoot ink everywhere. I mean, how terrible would that be if you were in a meeting? I'm still trying to figure out how that happened and the one-off. I understand sometimes they say you can, if you unscrew it rapidly, the air pressure balance. There is no way. It just exploded out of there. That is not enough. And that was kind of more on vintage pens, especially ones that have a sack and those particular feed designs. It's really not a modern day kind of fountain pen issue, at least as far as I know. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments. That's fine. We can debate that. But yeah, overall, pretty good. I like the titanium accents, all that stuff. Just wish the threads weren't as sharp here. The section, if you're going to have it hourglass that much, it would be nice if there was a touch more grip on there. For me, a little longer would be better, or if you made it post, just have it post deep so we're not grabbing onto that piston knob. So that's it for now, and I should be done for now. So we'll leave it there. Comments, likes, that button, just push it one of these days. Maybe today's the day. We'll catch you next time.